is there more to say? That is quite the flavour, isn't it? The influx of American interest. Let's go with a sort of case study then, and we'll start with you, Veronica. Someone panicking, calling you on the phone from America, saying, "I can't take it anymore. I've got to get out of the United States. I want to move to Portugal. How do I begin? How would you help that person, Veronica?"
Well, we've already had a few like that have, course corrected and adjusted. And I think it was when the Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade, and they're afraid of gay rights being taken away, gay marriage. There's a lot of things that people are just going, is this the country that we thought it was? And so I think like any move, it's kind of the same, almost like psychological approach. And you go, okay, why are you leaving? And is it something that can be fixed? Or again, I say this and it's so weird because are you moving here because you want to leave there or because you want to live here? And that's what I started with. And then when the political upheaval came, I'm like, okay, now I understand people have to move here because they want to leave there. Was this already on your radar? Was it on your radar, years ago, and you were just saying we were going to retire there and now we're going to do it earlier? And then with the, skyrocketing prices in both Canada and America, around Vancouver, average place is $2 million. You can come here and live very well for that, right?
Yeah, right.
And a lot of places in California as well. So are you a person who's traveled a lot and you can enjoy it? Or is this where we're getting some of this clickbait fodder from?
Yes.
Is, people who are like, I just got to run, like rats off a sinking ship. I've just got to get out of here. And have you really thought about, anything outside of the political climate? Because if you are not somebody who can adjust to things that are different or who doesn't really thrive in like a foreign culture or Europe, is this really the best place for you? So kind of sitting down and picking apart why, and then the where. So how do you see your life? Do you see yourself in the country? Do you see yourself in the city? Like the gal had just said, I think it was Susie, she moved away from the city, but then it wasn't enough. But there's plenty of places in between that model, right? You don't have to be in the crazy chaos like here where you can't cross the street without just smile, look confident, and walk in front of the cars, right?
That's Lisbon.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same, right? So you don't have to have that, and you don't have to have like there's nobody 50 miles away. There's so many places in between. And to Carl's areas and experience, there are also nice rural places next to, like he says, just across the river, next to Lisbon. So it's a train right away. But even in rural areas, you can find places that have 10 cafes, 20 cafes, 30 cafes. So it's what do you really need? And do you need the beach? Do you need, are you leaving the UK to avoid rain and then you go to an area where it rains all the time? Well, okay, you didn't do your research. So there's a lot of components to it, as well as, finances and all that. So I think that's always my first step when someone reaches out or calls to me. It's kind of the why and how do you see yourself? And I made a little planner, a visual planner, like close your eyes. Where do you see yourself? Are you on a beach? Are you in the mountains? Are you, in the middle of Lisbon, dancing in the street, having a party? And it's so important to really visualize that and see yourself in that place. And if you can't, it might not be for you. Europe might not be for you. Maybe it's Mexico. But it's really important to pick that right place and to not do it with a knee-jerk reaction. And to know that this is a place that you're going to stay for a long time because it's not easy to get here, right? There is some effort in getting a visa. And so that clickbait thing just hits us so hard because you're like, well, what were you thinking? I've only had one person move away. And no, actually two. I changed it. And it was because they hadn't really talked it through with their families. And their families were reliant on them and just guilted them into going home to babysit. Wow. So if you didn't suss out these things in advance or, because there was a senior person who was needing care, and all of those things need to be taken care of before you move, not only to another city, state, but another continent, not just another continent. So I think it was a little question, but there's a big answer.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant and so important because you're talking about people getting triggered, right? Literally, these political seismic events are moments for people where they get upset, and it might not be. I understand why people want to make that decision and the move, but if it's from that basis, you can be regretting that a long time into the future, can't you? If you don't consider it from a more considered and calm point of view. So really good advice there, Veronica. That's superb. Carl, what would you add to that?
Well, I mean, I think Veronica said it perfectly, really. But I mean, from my point of view, I tend not to go into it as deep with people about their, all of their reasons for moving, like maybe political reasons and things like that. But what I do say to people is, don't just jump in 2 feet first, especially when it comes to whether you're buying or renting. I mean, I'm in the business of buying and selling homes for people. And I also do rentals. I'm actually, after the show today, I'm going to meet a family over in Estoril. They're moving over from Louisiana, and they're undecided about Lisbon or Estoril. They don't know whether to rent or to buy. And I spoke with them at length this week, and I said, look, you really need to, you're not sure which school your kids are going to go to yet. You really don't want to be thinking about buying, so take your time. You can always just rent a place, and then if the country's not for you, you've not made this huge financial commitment. I mean, you've made a financial commitment by coming here. It's not cheap to move to Portugal, all the costs that are involved, but you've not bought a home and paid taxes on that home. So if you are unsure, definitely rent first, even if it's a 1-year rental, you only have to stay there for 8 months, 1 quarter of the lease, give 4 months notice. So it's not that big a commitment. If you move to Lisbon and it's not for you, you think, okay, a smaller city, maybe move up to Porto or something else. You've got all the options open to you then, and you can get acclimatized to the country, get acclimatized to the people, and figure out if it's really a place where you want to spend, maybe not only the rest of your life, but maybe even just a significant portion of your life. So, just sort of tread carefully. That's what I would say.
Great advice from both of you. And of course, you can come to Portugal from North America on a 90-day travel visa, can't you? Instead of, just getting straight into making a massive life change. And maybe it will be a beautiful place to come and recover from a shock of that kind. If you feel like your country, and Carl and I perhaps have similar feelings about the UK. We're kind of glad to be out of it, maybe, from what we see.
I've got to say, I didn't take my own advice, by the way. I had a bad day at work, came home and said to my wife, we're not going in 5 years, we're going now. 9 months later, I bought a place. So I didn't take my own advice, but from experience, I can tell.
Wait, you just said in 5 years we're not doing it. So you were already planning.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, I've been here a lot.
There's a big little sentence, big meaning.
Yeah. I didn't know the place. My wife's got family here, so it is very different. But we did take the plunge of just buying a place, and it happened very quickly. But yeah.
That's very interesting. That's what we did as well, because I'd been planning to come to Portugal since 2007. And then in 2017, redundancy, it was like, it's now, the plan was there, but this was the moment to push the button when I got made redundant, looked at Louis, so, after that news, why don't we do it? And you just kind of know, don't you? If the planning's in the background and when the time has come to push the button, but it's the planning, isn't it? It's the planning bit that I think you were talking about.
The other side of it as well.
Me too.
Sometimes you never make the move because it's always 5 years away. So that's the other side of the argument, isn't it? We're going to go one day, and one day never comes. So that's the other side. Like, sometimes you've got to take the leap,
Yeah, very
or
good.
You get pushed out of the nest. Like, you got pushed out of the nest. You said made redundant. You were pushed out of the nest. You got angry. You were pushed out of the nest. I was done too, and my company was cutting their commission, and the prices had just skyrocketed in California. Same thing. It's like, okay, this is the push. We're not doing it in 2 or 3 or 4 years. It's now.
Very interesting. We're talking about, I suppose, it's good to have a plan B, isn't it? And if plan B is ready, you can push the button on it. But if you haven't done the planning, just pushing the button on something you know nothing about could be a little precarious, as I think you're pointing to there, Veronica. Bob's asking, are you a person who can maintain a sense of adventure in the face of struggle and more change than you expected? That's a good point.
Come to Vietnam, baby.
I think living in another culture and learning from it makes us better people. There's that angle as well from Suze, but it's not for everyone. if you're set in your ways. At first sight, we might have considered buying our first spot, lived there a winter while renting, and found out the sun never reached the house.
Yeah.
Good information. Glad we could leave in a sun and in a sunny spot now. And Pam, I think a fair proportion of the people moving here now won't stay long term. It's still an adventure, though, and it doesn't have to be forever. And as I said, you can come and visit for 90 days on a tourist visa, and you can recover from those shocks. If you just need a change is as good as a rest. Come to Portugal for a rest, even if it's not going to be for the rest of your life.
But I think I disagree with that comment, because I think a lot of people that planned have stayed here. I've seen a lot of people stay here and thrive. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds have emailed through my channel, and you see how many emailed through yours, and 400 or 500 have filled out surveys and deep in-depth surveys on where they want to live, how they want to live, and I've only seen 2 go home.
Yep, incredible.
And that was family issues that just weren't planned out well. They didn't go through me, so.
Yeah, very good. That's why you should rent when moving, because you might not like the place, area, or the people. Later on, you can move again. And I think there's quite a universal agreement on that, unless it's love at first sight and you really know. The 12-month base camp in Portugal is a great idea. We didn't plan at all, says the Yerman team. We thought we were helping our son move, and it worked. That's great, isn't it? Helping someone else move. Like, actually, quite like it ourselves here. We'll stay. Brilliant, Sarah. Thank you very much.
With them? Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful? The serendipitous move to Portugal helped someone else to do it, and that's worked out just beautifully there in Setúbal. Thank you both. Sorry to keep you for those extra couple of minutes, but that was quite an important little segment there, which I will create a clickbaity title for and a picture of someone freaking out in front of an American flag. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yes, thanks so much. Have a great day. So, have a wonderful day in the capital, Carl, and enjoy the rest of your holiday in Vietnam. Veronica, nice big round of applause for you. And we'll end with 3 minutes of fire. Let's change the mood. Let's have a cleansing ritual. This is from, I think, Alcobaça, the day after Carnival. It's only 3 seconds of fire. So chuck any bad thoughts into that fire and let it go. And we'll see you tomorrow with Bobby O'Reilly. A bit of Feel Good Friday fun tomorrow. See you then, folks. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks, everybody. Take care and bye for now.